Hey, this is Rachel Giroux, and I just wanted to give you a couple of quick pointers if you don't know how to deconstruct and construct the K-12 curriculum. So if you go into the class home and you scroll down, you can go to the course builder. And already, right away, there are some things that I personally don't like the way they're organized because I always like everything to be super obvious for students. So this course materials folder, I just feel like it's lost. Like that's where some of your most important documents are. That's where your syllabus is, your teacher contact information. But how many students don't realize it's in there? Some of y'all have a textbook, like if it's math, there's a textbook in here with like the answer key in the back of it, just like in brick and mortar school, and students don't even realize that it's there. So I kind of like to create my own folders. So how you do that is you can just grab this and drag it over. And so in here I might put orientation video required, something like that, to get their attention. And you can put start dates and end dates. So if you only want a folder to show up at a certain time, you can plan in advance and have it open up when you want it to, or if you want it to close out at a certain time, you can. I'm just going to leave it like that. So there's my orientation video, and now I can go into that and create whatever I want inside of there. So I always like to also have, this is Giroux's contact info. I just like to have that right there. I know everybody does Class Connect recordings. So this is how you can get your folders made. Anyway, then there's also times when you would just have and if you don't want this folder to show up, just go over here where it says published and just put draft. And then that folder doesn't show. Now, if there's a test or anything in there, that doesn't necessarily mean that the students can access the test a different way through a different path. So any tests that you have, you also need to put a start date on them of a later time, or just make it so they're inactive. Same thing with drop boxes. So in this unit, understanding art, I've got some things in here that I really don't want to use. So if you're trying to pare down the content because it's just too much for an 8-week period or too much for even a semester, the way that you do that is I can click on that right there and I can draft it. But my favorite thing to do is to create a folder down at the very bottom. And I call this things not used. And I create that, and I make sure that that folder is a draft so that no one can see that. And so I can go ahead and I drafted it, which is great, but I can also move it to the things not used folder. And so I'm not going to see it every single time I open that up now, which is kind of nice. I'm not going to use this discussion. So I'm going to draft it and I'm going to move it to my things not used, right? So the other thing though is with those discussions, so I'm going to go ahead and go into my content now, and you can see those folders there. But with your discussions, you have to go in and inactivate them. Okay, I figured it out. When you click on here, you can edit the forum, and you can just come down here and hide the forum and lock the forum and save that. The forum is still there, so it shows that it's hidden. So just do that with everything that you have in here. So hide, lock it, save it. So any discussions that you don't plan on using, that's all you have to do. So you don't have to worry about those. I'll do that later. Quizzes that you don't plan on using, or maybe you don't want the students working ahead because maybe down the road you're going to change your mind and not use one, right? So select everything, hit bulk edit. Notice that all of the quizzes are active right now. So I can just go like this, and all of those quizzes are now inactive. So even if they show up, the students couldn't take them because they're not active. So that's kind of a cool way to prevent students from going into content that you're not sure that you're even planning on using or not, because then you feel guilty later on, right, when they do it. My other thing that I like to do is I like to change all of my quiz attempts to unlimited, because if you don't, the students are going to come back and be like, can you reopen that quiz for me? And when you have that many students, however are in your class, that can be an organizational nightmare. So just click unlimited on everything. Unless it's something that's really important that they can only take it one time, then of course you don't want it to be unlimited. Okay, and then you just press save. So all of my quizzes at this moment are inactive, but when I decide to activate them, they will have unlimited opportunities to take them. This is the lockdown browser. This is another thing that's important. If you want your students to be able to take an open book test, meaning you want them to be able to go back and look at the notes and read the content, and rather than guessing, actually find the answers, you want to make sure that there's no lockdown browser. So I've got some tests in here where it's required. So I can modify my settings and put don't require lockdown for this exam and click save. And then you'll notice it says not required. So these are just some things that you're going to want to go in and make sure that you modify on your tests. Otherwise, I personally like to give my students the opportunity to go and find the answers if they don't have it memorized, because that's, to me, a test is another learning opportunity. So that's me. So for a class, I just want to make sure that I have not required for lockdown browser. So another situation is assignments. So if you have assignments that you're not going to be using, the way to make it so students don't have access to those is to go into bulk edit and put a start date. And I like to put a start date of July something, simply because of the fact that once it reaches that start date, it's going to send email notifications about it. And so it's best, in my opinion, just to put a date when we're not in school so you don't deal with all of those email notifications in the middle of the school year. So I'll just do something like 7/11 because that's a fun date. 7/11 and next year will be 18. And it doesn't really matter what time. I didn't do it. 07/11/2018. Is that better? Okay, so it wants that format. So you can go in there and you can just copy that and then just put that for all of your drop boxes. And then when you're ready to open your drop boxes, you can just get rid of that start date. So for example, maybe you are going to use some of these assignments, but you want to go back and make sure that they reflect what you actually want them to do. Maybe you're going to change the wording or whatever. So if you just set them all to 7/11/2018 right now, you don't have to worry about students going in and doing assignments that you haven't even assigned yet, because they will. We always have students that are like, I'm going to finish this course in 2 weeks. So it's always a good idea to just kind of lock that stuff out. So that's how students are getting in. Like even in the content, how I was showing you how to draft things. how you might have something drafted in the content, but they're still getting in there and doing it. And you're like, how are they doing it? It's through tools. They can go into tools too, and they can access assignments in here as well. They can access discussions here. And so just make sure that you do those three things: assignments, discussions, and quizzes. Then you'll be all set. Nobody will be able to get in. So I showed you how to add some folders. Now, if you want to add some content to your folder, so here's my orientation video required. I can just go ahead and come in here and I can do it either video or audio that way, or just create a link to it here. Another fun way to put videos in is here in the description, you can actually upload YouTube videos. So let's say I've got this YouTube video and just put the link in there and do search, and then there's my video. I go like that, and now insert, and instead of it just showing up as a yellow little hyperlink down here, when the student comes into the classroom, they're going to actually click update. They're going to actually see this video right here, and I can add other information. So this is one of my favorite ways to communicate with the students, is in this little box here. There we go. So you can be like, watch the video below and take the quiz. Okay, and so I always like to put my announcements in super big letters and make them bold. I could do colors like Utah Virtual Academy colors, purple. There we go. So watch the video below and take the quiz, and then update that, right? So that's what the students see. And then here I can make my quiz right there. So there will be a quiz right below it. That's a fun way to present your own stuff for the students. And then, contact information here with your description. You can paste your picture in there and put your contact information. I always like to put a picture of myself and my family in the contact information. And then I also put things in contact information like the K-12 help line, which is 866 K-12 care. That's always good. I tell them, tech support, make sure that's on your contact information. This is also great places where like you have that materials where you can check your materials. I don't know, website, whatever that was. I think someone hopefully has it, will give it to us. I think it's on that everything in one list. So anything that students might need, I like to throw in there on the contact info. Your Class Connect recordings, you're just gonna create a link for each of those, and it's good to put the date. So like if I were doing a recording for today, it would be 8/15/17, and I always like to put the topic like quiz 2.01, elements of art. And it's really helpful when you do that for your video titles, because if another teacher is coming into your classroom or a mentor and they are trying to help the student, if it only has the date, it doesn't give me any information. If the student's like, hi, I need to watch the video on the elements of art, or I'm taking the 2.01 quiz and I'm not sure which video it is. Well, if you put all of that on there, then whoever is trying to help the student is going to be able to quickly say, oh, you need to watch this video right here. Take the 2.01 quiz. Does that make sense? Hopefully. And then you would just put the video URL there from your Class Connect recording. So anyway, I recommend those types of things. And if you have any questions, just let me know.